quite interesting, certainly about expansion, because it's constantly talked about, isn't it? It kind of makes you think...
It does make some sense, really, doesn't it?
The Bears' ploy to take over the Titans is more realistic than the Central Coast franchise that they were sort of pinning the hopes to before that, and those sorts of stories. So interesting stuff.
Yes, and another.
I mean, Greenberg's got some experience, but is not universally popular.
No, I was going to say he's not exactly well thought of.
I'm sure if you listen to This Week in League, there'll be plenty of slagging off of Greenberg. But
it'll be worth a listen this week.
He's performed in similar roles in the sport successfully.
Yes.
You would argue?
Yeah, I would say so. Okay, and finally, former St Helens utility Lance Hahaya has criticised Saints for an alleged lack of support as he battled to recover from head trauma following the 2014 Grand Final. Hahaya claims he wanted an extended break from Super League in 2015, but was encouraged by St Helens to take medication and play on. After the infamous Grand Final attack by Ben Flower left him seriously concussed, Hahaya was then concussed again the following season against Salford, but passed the on-field tests. Hahaya claims he continued to suffer blackouts, memory loss and ongoing headaches in the weeks that followed. Medical tests were conducted and the utility halfback wanted an extended break, but he says the club allegedly took a different view. I had tests, but with concussion and brain injuries there is not an exact science, he said. The tests were inconclusive, but I needed some time. Unfortunately, Saints chose not to support me through that time, and that hurt me a lot. I was always putting the team first, but putting myself first was something I had to do for my family. I was offered prescription medications to help with the headaches. I wasn't comfortable with that as it was masking a bigger problem. I needed a period of time to heal, but I wasn't given that choice. The option was take the medication and play, or walk away. Now, Hahaya retired in April 2015 and has never considered legal action against St Helens or Ben Flower. I don't have any hatred towards Ben Flower, he said. We have spoken by text and I have accepted his apology. It took a long time to get over it, but I don't want to walk around with hate in my heart for someone who ended something. With St Helens, to not have that support was really a sad feeling for us. It felt like they weren't supporting a person, it was just business. It left a sour taste, but St Helens are within their rights to feel how they want about the situation. Now, St Helens have returned fire at Hahaya, that rhymes, stating that the Kiwis' claims of the club not supporting him are grossly inaccurate and malicious. They said that throughout the time he received the highest level of professional support and empathy, both rugby and medically. His subsequent version of ongoing concussive symptoms were entirely retrospective and only raised by him at the end of that period. At no time was he put under any pressure or duress by the club to play, and he was provided with the highest level of professional advice and support by the club. St Helens sets the very highest standards in that regard. His decision to retire was entirely his, and his resignation was without due notice to the club. It was he, not the club, that later put the matter in the hands of solicitors. His assertions were totally without merit or foundation, and he then decided not to take the matter further. His retrospective version of events bore little, if any, relation to our detailed professional records. We are totally outraged that now, some 9 months after his voluntary resignation, he regurgitates his grossly inaccurate and misrepresentative assertions against St Helens in a New Zealand newspaper whilst he is resident in the United States. We will review all possible action open to us and seek redress from all relevant parties. So that could not be firmer from St Helens, really, could it, that they refute the allegations that Lance Hahaya is putting.
I'm assuming from use of the word regurgitates, it's a repetition of something he must have said to them at some point in the past, because otherwise I don't see how it would be a regurgitation. I don't know why it's relevant where the newspaper was or where he's living, but Saints seem to want to make it in the statement.
It takes him out of jurisdiction in terms of libel and slander, doesn't it?
Well,
potentially makes it harder for them to seek redress.
Which again, they're hinting at legal action, which sort of supports Hahaya's points that they were the ones who were, I don't know, maybe
I'm not sure,
keeping things legally positioned during the whole previous phase of this, because...
Or alternatively, they've acted with due care and attention and lived up to their duty of care to Lance Hahaya, and now that he's saying the opposite of that, they want to defend their position and their reputation, which they're perfectly entitled to do.
I think detailed professional records will always be kept in a certain way. I mean, I'm told at my place of work, you can't put that on the case notes because the client could request to see those. So, you know, everyone's told that sort of thing, aren't they? So I'm sure that there'll be things missing from professional records.
Yeah. I find it very difficult to kind of come to any concrete conclusion on this, except to say that it is a tremendous shame that Lance Haya's career was ended in this fashion. It's a tremendous shame when concussion has any impact on a player, and we should do as much as we can to look after them.
Yeah.
If it transpires that St Helens haven't done, then that will come out in the wash. But at this point, it's a difficult one for me to say where my feelings lie on this. But Saints have a right to defend their position if that's what they feel, you know, they should be doing, and they probably will do quite staunchly. Lance Haya obviously has a different version of events, and I don't know his motivation for suddenly coming up with it now. So I can't speak to that. What I can say is that, you know, he probably had another, 3 years left to play, earn some money for him and his family. He probably feels like he's had his career shortened by
his contract was up at St Helens.
Two successive concussions,
season,
but he'd have got another gig.
No, I'm just saying. So if he'd have taken an extended break and they weren't looking to offer him a new contract, which they may have not have been doing anyway, then it wouldn't be to their benefit to give him an extended break when James Roby was injured.
True.
And they decided to put a little bloke who'd not really played much hooker in the recent past into the hooking position where he was expected to make 50 tackles a game and play for 80 minutes 8 times.
Yeah.
That is what I've questioned before in St Helens' role in this.
Yeah.
But then you've got to think the truth falls somewhere between these two statements.
I would say so.
And I would imagine that there is an element of truth of him not fully reporting his symptoms, and he admitted that in the extended. If you read the whole article, which I encourage everyone to go and read both full statements and articles to get a fully balanced picture of this, because it isn't straightforward. But he sort of admitted that he kind of downplayed it a little bit.
Yeah. Which is, kind of typical of what you would expect of a rugby league player anyway. Because, these are lads that go out and they do generally... A lot of them are playing with knocks and injuries, aren't they? So it's not uncommon.
So he probably hasn't helped himself in doing that. And then...
It muddies the water, doesn't it?
And then when it comes to the point of what happens next when he can't play, I think there's probably... It probably falls between the two statements as well, you would expect.
Yes, it's just a very sad situation. For
it's a real shame that he realised probably too late that it's mentioned in the article that he broke his nose 6 times in the season leading up to the Ben Flower punch.
Yeah,
and before anyone says whatever they want to say, we still think that second punch was despicable, disgraceful, deserved a 6-month ban, has no place in rugby. The first punch was kind of tit for tat for the forearm smash to the side of the face, so that's okay. Lance Haya got banned for that. It's a fact that he did that. Ben Flower got banned for his first punch. He would have got banned a lot less if he hadn't have done the second punch, a disgraceful punch. Push that all again out of it, because that's not really the issue here. But he had his nose broken 6 times in that season, so you've got to say he's been taking a fair amount of whacks around the head.
More shots to the face than Kim Kardashian.
He's getting concussed in a game the next season. He passed the on-field concussion test, so either they're not fit for purpose, or there's something, or he got so good at masking his symptoms that he was able to. There's obviously, it's just a dangerous situation. It needs to be a lesson for other players who suffer from concussion. I mean, it's not rugby league, but I don't know if many people watched the Newcastle Sunderland football match, but towards the end of that, the Newcastle centre forward, whose name is Eastern European, that's the guy. He appeared to be...
Where did I plug that out of the air from?
He appeared to be concussed, and was taken off the pitch and was arguing pretty strongly with the medics that he should stay on, but the medic, the doctor and the physio and the head coach in the end managed to convince him that no, it wasn't in his interest to go back on the pitch. But that just shows how much sportsmen want to.
Well, of course,
want to get, want to not believe that there's a problem there.
Yeah.
And so this needs to be a lesson for people that Lance High didn't tell people maybe loudly and often and quickly enough about all the things that were going on when he was away from the game that winter. So other players really need to bear that sort of thing in mind, because it ended up coming at a bad time for him when he did realise it was probably too late to save his season with St Helens, and therefore it had a big effect on his career as well, which is a sad thing. And that's the shame of all this, as we've said before.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing I'd like to avoid, or I keep my fingers crossed that we do avoid, is that it comes out in the wash that St Helens haven't acted 100% ethically and responsibly and did put Lance High's health at risk, because that would be a tremendous shame for a historic organisation.
Of course,
like to have sullied themselves like that. Not that there's any evidence to suggest they have as yet. It's just two different points of view.
If there is any sort of fall down there on St Helens side, they wouldn't be the first club to have not necessarily acted in the best interest of a player's long-term health. I mean, how many players walk around with knee problems, back problems,
there's a lot of
hip problems.
There's a lot of punch drunk lads out there, aren't there?
What have you? And it's happened at all our clubs. So we're not putting St Helens under the bus for this. No.
Certainly not. No. So good luck to everyone with that, and let's hope that we get some kind of positive outcome from it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just make sure you check over your housing applications in Michigan thoroughly, in case there's been some inadvertent mistakes on the paperwork.
Oh, Mark, you can't resist, can you? Right. Let's have some fun with Illingworth now as we take a look back at round 6 of Super League. Okay, so round 6 of Super League, Mark, kicked off on Thursday night, and as good as Wigan were the other week against Leeds Rhinos when they took on a side at the DW, their almost slightly over 2-year unbeaten run at home came to an end at the hands of the Widnes Vikings. Now, you were there. I watched it on television later on. I would go so far as to say it's probably the worst home performance I've witnessed. I mean, I don't watch Wigan as much as you, but I'm struggling to think of a time where they've failed to execute and just seemed so toothless
in
attack at times. But again, I don't watch them as much as you do, but credit to Widnes for something that I haven't necessarily seen in them this year. Whilst they've been beating teams well, actually this was a really big test and required a great deal of resilience and mental fortitude to kind of grind the result over, and they stuck together as a team, and I've got to say they were deserved winners for my money.
Yeah, I agree. The better team won. The team that performed better on the night won. I've seen equally shoddy performances from Wigan, to be honest, during that winning run. I think the Widnes game at home last year, Catalan at home last year, Castleford in the rain, but that mitigated it a bit. Salford last year. There's been a few.
But on the upside, it's another 13 years until you have to lose at home to Widnes again. So,
let's hope so, yeah.
You'll be alright.
Did you see in Liga Express, Martin Sadler's bit on the game talked about the
every 13 years.
The lady, the streaker lady.
Oh, did he really? Yeah. Fantastic, that's great. No, I did hear, I did enjoy watching him on Sky, egging Phil Clark on a little bit, because he said he'll be a Widnes mascot.
Oh, yeah.
He's finishing the top 4, I believe.
Yeah.
So they were all teasing him and winding him up, which is always great to see. I like watching Clarky get wound up.
Yeah, to be honest, watching the game, it just felt like Widnes controlled Wigan, and Wigan's attack was awful. Probably the angriest I've got all season.
Bless you.
Yeah, sorry about that. The angriest I've got all season watching Wigan was towards the end of that game, probably just the start of the last set, when we're in attacking position. Oliver Gildart sort of runs across the pitch on the 10-metre line. Not one lazy bastard forward thought to make a run to try and even tie up a defender or anything. None of those middle players were anywhere. They weren't supporting the man breaking across the field. He had nowhere to go. And that was a story all night, really. We had nowhere to go. The only things we were making success of were runs out of dummy half. Other than that, we were trying to go far too laterally, whereas Widnes had shape. They had players in motion, they had players waiting for the ball, they had some serious efforts in the middle, and I thought Heremiah impressed me, playing 80 minutes against a Wigan side that should be more physically in charge. than they were, given how they performed the week before.
Yeah.
If I'm looking for positives, we kept the league's best attack down to only 18 points, but it just showed how we're one of the league's worst